Hey guys, I'm Patrick Smith, and this is my Equinety Barn Check. I'm gonna show you guys around the place today. We're gonna check out the horses, do a little team roping, so let's go check it out. I was like any kid growing up. I wanted a horse, but I lived in town. As I got older, my dad and mom decided to move into my grandparents' house out in the country. They had 9 acres. And then that same year, a couple from California moved, and their kids started going to school at my school, and they went to church at our church, and they advertised riding lessons for $10. So this was my break, and I told my mom, I said, I want to go start riding a horse. So I was 16 years old and had never been on a horse. I started taking riding lessons, fell in love with it. I didn't know anything about team roping. They team roped, and they started teaching me how to ride. I said I'd like to learn the rope, and didn't even know what it was. I didn't know you could rodeo for a living. I didn't know there was a national finals rodeo. I knew nothing of any of this stuff. Once I got going, I became like an insane addict for team roping. I roped. It didn't matter what it was, a goat, a dummy, a donkey, a steer, whatever it was, I roped it, and I fell in love with it. So I started heeling and competing and winning, and then it was the same way as before. That just was like pouring gasoline on the fire. I fell in love with that even more, wanted to rodeo. Actually got a job at Chili's to pay for my horse so I could rope during the day and still make some money, and it was a $173 a month payment that I had. Instead of a truck, I got a horse, and that was what I did, and that horse was the one I won my first world title on many years later. Life comes at you fast. I made the NFR 13 times. This will be my 13th trip this year. So this is what we call the top barn. I don't have an official barn at my place here, but living in Texas, that's something that I never really wanted to invest in, was the nice barns that you see at everybody else's place, because number one, the heat. Most of the time we don't need actual enclosed barns, but this is the closest thing I have to it. So I keep my good horses up here. So this is Turbo. He's actually the 2022 Heel Horse of the Year, which is an amazing feat. Only the second horse I've ever owned to earn that title. I've had a really blessed career as far as heel horses and keeping my horses underneath me and going. And one thing that happened this last year in 2021, Turbo and Rooster, which I'm going to talk about here in a minute, and another horse I have, Midas, they're my top 3 horses. And for the first time in my career, the busiest time of the year is July. I lost all 3 of these horses to the soft tissue injury. And so with the soft tissue injuries, it can be really tricky as far as the healing process and the amount of time that it takes. And I needed something to put them on. And that's how I got started on Equinety. I'd heard what it does for soft tissue injuries and recovery time, and I just saw amazing results. I went from borrowing a horse in 2021 for the 4th of July to having all 3 of my horses back this year in 2022, and this one winning Horse of the Year, and going back to the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas. And I know Equinety played a huge part in that because I saw how quickly their recovery time was. So Rooster, he's the friendliest stud that there is. The Rooster's just been another amazing addition to our team. I've had him now for almost 6 years. The reason I bought him was because I loved heeling on him, but I also knew that he had 2 ways of making income as long as I could win on him, and then start a breeding program in the future. And now with the Riata buckle, he's Riata buckle incentive, and same thing, had some soft tissue injuries in 2021. Got him on Equinety as well and brought him back in this year. Hadn't taken a lame step. Everything's been golden. He's 18 years old, going on 19 years old, still full-fledged rodeoing, going to 75 rodeos a year. And since I've had him on Equinety, his numbers have actually gone up. And at 16 years old, just a couple of years ago, his numbers went up when he was 17, went up when he's 18, and we just had him checked again, and his numbers have went up again, going on to 19 years old. And I know that Equinety's had a huge success in those numbers for many people, and I'm seeing it myself with Rooster. I've always got young horses coming in and out, or horses that I'm trying or something like that, to always bring the next, hopefully good one along for the rodeos. So, but ever since I've started this program, I went from putting my good horses on Equinety to where everything you see on this place stays on Equinety, including Tanner's horses. I make him feed it to his because I know how much it's helped us. Horsemanship is more than just being able to ride or being able to handle a horse. It's taking care of your horse and making sure that they're on their A game, making sure that they've got that fire in them, because every 1/10 of a second matters. Going down the road is the hardest part. The roping part, you know, they're athletes. They can handle runs. They can handle the rodeo road as far as one run or whatever it is. If the conditions are good, it's obviously, that's not going to hurt them. The 75, 80,000 miles a year, going down the road in the trailers for hours and hours at a time, and the pounding on the road, giving them everything they need is so important. The rest they need, the feed they need, and the nutrition that they need, and making sure that we're keeping their joints and their body filled with everything they need to heal and to recover. No different than us, especially the older I get, the more I realize these things. So this is my tack room. I spend probably more time here than anywhere else on my place. So much time that I've got my own coffee maker in here. I'm a coffee drinker, so I've got a spot for that in here. So let's go check it out. So in my tack room, I try to keep stuff really neat. I try to keep it really organized. You know, the same tie down for the same horse, same bit for the same horse. You'll probably notice here in a minute that I've actually got name tags on my horse's saddles, pads, and bridles. I was just getting tired over the years of getting things mixed up. I would saddle a horse, grab a bridle, even though it might be the same bit, it fits differently. And so I've been real particular about that, and the care of my ropes, taking care of my saddles and all of my tack, because this is how I make a living, and the details is what matter. And being able to come in here and find exactly what I'm looking for each horse and each day makes my day go a lot smoother. So this has been a lifesaver for me. My Preferred hot walker. You'll notice I've got it set right up next to my tack room. So when we're getting ready to rope like today, we'll saddle, throw them on the walker on cold days like today, get the buck out of them. If we've got some colts or something, we bid them up on here. Spend a lot of time doing some of the pre-training stuff right here on the walker before we get to the arena. One thing we did that's different about my roping arena, as you can see, we'll come in here, we have two different setups. So behind me right here is my main arena that we rope in all year. And then with this, we were able to set up with the width of my arena, the exact measurements of the Thomas and Mack where the National Finals Rodeo is held. So it's amazing how much difference there is in practice when you just rope in a big arena and go fast, and when you actually rope in an arena the size of the Thomas and Mack. We've got panels set up for the left wall, panels set up for the right wall, and got a strip and shoot back here in the back. But we have our own boxes and chute that stays there all year. No excuses when we get out there. We've got the right stuff to prepare. As I look back over my career, all of my great years were tied to great horses, and all of my subpar years were tied to subpar horses. And if you don't have great ones under you, you're just another guy swinging a rope out there. So when you have a great one and you lose one, it makes you appreciate the next great one a lot more. So I've learned to take care of my horses.